Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Stock Talk, series I make whenever I feel it's necessary, where we cover exciting news and price action in regard to some of the stocks we've been talking about on the channel. Today's case, you guys already know the deal. As promised, we're covering my single favorite sector in the market right now, and that is Bitcoin related stocks. Okay, so I want to let you guys know right off the bat, this is going to be a very technically focused episode of Stock Talk. No articles to look at today, just a lot of super exciting price action. So we'll of course kick it off by taking a look at Bitcoin, just because so many of these stocks we're looking at are very reliant on the performance of Bitcoin. And I know you guys know that I'm bullish, but we will take a look at Bitcoin, just reconfirm what I think is going to happen in terms of price action once again. After Bitcoin, we will take a look at the following stocks in this order: Overstock, MicroStrategy, Riot Blockchain, Marathon Patent Group, and Hive. You guys, all of these had a solid day. I know some of you reached out and asked me why aren't some of these stocks performing as well as I think they would, which I will explain once we get to them, specifically Riot and Mara. But you guys, Overstock crushing it today. It's good to see that Overstock is finally gaining some correlation once again with Bitcoin. But again, as we go over these one by one, I will give you guys my thoughts on these specific stocks and what I think is going on, because I think it's important to explain my thoughts on correlation and why these stocks, although it may make sense, we understand why they should be directly correlated to Bitcoin and maybe even more volatile than Bitcoin. Go in like Bitcoin does well, these stocks should go do even better. I just want to explain to you guys my thought process there, especially in this current market environment we're in. Okay, so before we get into it, I will ask you guys to please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it, or if you're invested in any of the stocks we're talking about today. I imagine many of you are. And subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, want to catch more content like this. Really appreciate that. Before we do get into it though, I want to share this with you guys. So this is a small excerpt that I sent out in Tuesday's or Monday or Tuesday's newsletter, I believe. But I just want to read it to you guys, and I'll do that right now. In the chart below, you can see that Bitcoin is in a pretty textbook ascending channel. It's highly likely to me that we'll come up to test the top side of this channel, which would bring us to the $14.5 thousand region. I believe that at some point we'll break out of this channel, and once that happens, it's off to the races. So this happened way sooner than expected, but big shout out to the newsletter group, you guys. We straight up called this one. And I don't want to brag about this, but it just feels good to know that the time you're putting in, the hours you're putting into just looking at charts, the time you've put into the game, just because, again, the game rewards people who put in the work, put in the effort, have been here for a long time, put in the hours, just like everything else in life. So it just feels good to be validated and obviously financially compensated very nicely for that. So one more thing, if you guys want this bad boy in your email inbox every day, complete portfolio, daily newsletter, complete breakdown of my entire portfolio, and you receive one of these in your email inbox every day. I'm talking about a lot of the stocks that we're going to be talking about today and more. So appreciate it if you check it out. Once again, first link in the description down below. But if not, no worries at all. Let's get into this. So whole lot of charts. I'm excited to talk technicals. Look at Bitcoin going right now, you guys. This is so beautiful. And a big reason I want to say that too is because we've been talking about that. I believe we talked about that in one of the videos I posted earlier this week too. Bitcoin was just following such a textbook ascending channel, and we were saying when you're seeing like this line, when you see such a strong line of support on such a solid ascending channel, it's very likely that it was very likely to me that we would see a breakout to the upside as opposed to a breakout down to the downside. And we saw that, you guys, and once it broke out of this ascending channel, once it confirmed this break out of this line of resistance, it was off to the races, you guys. So again, I would have been happy with 14.5K by the end of this week, to be honest. We're approaching it right now. So it will be interesting to see what happens over the course of this weekend. But I mean, Bitcoin right now at the time of recording this, it is Thursday afternoon, almost reaching $16,000, you guys. That's crazy. And you guys know, again, I've explained this before. This might happen a lot sooner than I expected, but my short-term price target is this line of resistance, one of these two, which would take us to either 17.1 thousand or 17.6 thousand, depending on which line of resistance it hits. So again, zooming out here, we're gonna zoom out a pretty significant amount here. Sorry if it looks crazy. Oh, shoot. Okay, so this is a more medium-term line of resistance. This is a long-term, pretty conservative line of resistance on both of these uptrends. And I honestly think it makes sense to probably do the longer-term one or somewhere in the middle. That's why, you guys, I think Christmas is where both of these trend lines coincide and reach an apex. I think we'll see a $20,000 Bitcoin by Christmas. You guys have been calling that for like the past month now. But short-term, I think we could see a rally up to like $17,000 just because there's such little historical resistance around this area. Again, you guys, the levels we're at right now, we haven't seen since 2017. So it's super exciting. It's a super exciting time. I'm just stoked to share this experience with you guys. And yeah, I think shorter term, I think 17 plus K is what I'm personally betting on. And longer term, I think 20K is very reasonable by Christmas. Okay, so that is Bitcoin. Again, you guys always just got to confirm Bitcoin. Let's hit up Overstock. So Overstock having a great day today. Overstock, you guys, I actually haven't looked at this. Again, a lot of these charts I'm looking at with you guys with fresh eyes. So Overstock, what I'm seeing here, you guys can see that I'm just going to delete all of these lines. That did not play out as expected. So Overstock has gotten punished, you guys, like a lot of other stocks in the market. And it makes sense that we'd see Overstock. You can see like right here. So this is very, very promising to me for Overstock. You can see here that Overstock completely wiped out all of its gains prior to reversing, prior to going up 15% today. It reversed all of its gains prior to that parabolic move up, which a lot of times in bubbles, you guys, look what's happening in the market right now, because we are going to experience a bubble for sure. Who knows when the bubble is going to pop? I think it's just the beginning of the bubble for Bitcoin, to be honest. But always watch how bubbles perform. Look how much time is between. So like July 23rd to the peak on August 18th. So you're looking at a few weeks, and a lot of bubbles act very similarly, you guys. So remember that it gets very psychological at this point. Disregard technicals, although we're looking at a lot of technicals and they do still apply and they are still important, especially for the medium to long term. When you're in a bubble, things get super crazy, super fast, and that's why I've been saying, you guys, I want you guys to be prepared, because especially with stocks like Overstock, MicroStrategy, Riot Mart, especially, like, things can get super real, super quick. So just be ready. Overstock, right here. So Overstock is technically still kind of in a downtrend right here. Okay, so Overstock will need to break above this longer term downtrend that has been printing since mid-August for me to become bullish. Although it's been a very solid day, and Overstock is so this made sense. Like, this valuation made sense to me based on their previous earnings. Their earnings have been so good. We're coming up on holiday season. More money is just going to keep being printed, which is obviously very good for all of these stocks. But Overstock has shown that their e-commerce branch is doing well, and I feel like people are finally starting to realize that T0 is a very promising project for them, and that is their cryptocurrency arm and their cryptocurrency investment arm and exchange. So, on top of, like, Overstock, I think right now is underpriced, but from a technical perspective, it will need to break above this level at about $75. If we can close even a 4-hour candle above $75, more preferably daily, but if we can get a $75 Overstock, then I think we're going to see another run for sure. Moving on, MicroStrategy, the infamous Bitcoin balance sheet company. Okay, so MicroStrategy, just looking at this chart, it's crazy to me how little volume is still on MicroStrategy, to be honest. Like, I personally expected, and I told you guys, and I'm wrong many of the time, it's doing well, but I expected a lot more volume to come in here, because they're just like headline news for being the pioneer and adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, and a very significant amount, you guys. MicroStrategy's market cap is still at like under 1.7 billion, you guys, and they have like over, after today, they have like what, $700 million in Bitcoin or something crazy like that. So it's crazy that I think they deserve to be higher, and I do ultimately think that now that Bitcoin is doing super well, a lot of these players are up in after hours, you guys. We'll take a look at Riot Mart too. I don't think MicroStrategy is. Overstock is like 1%. But you guys, MicroStrategy, I think it's very likely that we test. Even this right here too. Like, you can see this. Like, we'll just do that. And like, this medium term trend coincides with this longer term trend on December 1st. And you guys know that I do think that by Christmas, like I just said, we'll see a $20,000 Bitcoin. I think it's very reasonable if we see a 20K Bitcoin to see a $240 MicroStrategy, okay? Especially if the rest of the market continues to do well. So MicroStrategy, very bullish. I think it will inevitably test one of these trend lines in the near future, especially if Bitcoin reaches 17K. Keep in mind, you guys, so many things can go parabolic. And getting to the moment we've all been waiting for, Riot Blockchain. We'll get to Marathon Patent Group after this. So Riot, you can't zoom out on Riot. Sorry, there's so many lines drawn here, you guys, but you can't zoom out on this chart and not be bullish. High, higher low. And it just makes sense to me that we're going to see a higher high. Like, it just looking at this chart, it makes perfect sense to me that we're going to see a higher high. And especially seeing Bitcoin performing so well, once Bitcoin actually starts to break out. Like, right now it's doing well, but it hasn't exploded yet. It actually is kind of as we speak right now. But I think if we see that $17,000 Bitcoin, like Bitcoin really starts picking up, and the markets continue to perform, I want to explain to you guys the correlation right after this. But my shorter term time, like for Riot, I think we could very easily, like we probably will come up to test this area that was that it broke as support and use it as resistance quickly, which would bring us up to like $4.25. But I think we can easily go beyond that if Bitcoin does well. Their earnings are coming up. This is very important. I believe Riots are on November 17th and Marathon Patent Groups are on the 11th. So in the coming weeks, they're going to announce earnings. They might have been spending a lot of money on mining machines, but they're building their infrastructure. That's good. You want that out of young companies. Again, the more mining machines they have, the more Bitcoin they can mine, and obviously the more profits they produce because they're mining more Bitcoin. And along with the fact that Riot specifically has a solid chunk of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, I have to imagine Marathon Patent Group does as well. So that's going to be huge, guys. When people see the power, investors specifically, of course, see the power of having Bitcoin on your balance sheet, like when MicroStrategy popped off earnings, it makes sense that the same exact thing happens to Riot and Mara. And keep in mind, you guys, these are still what Riot is $185 million market cap, still tiny. It does not take much external capital into these stocks to pop them off. We've seen it happen in the past. It can easily happen again in a world that is so much more fundamentally positive for Bitcoin. So from a short-term perspective, I do want to see Riot Blockchain break above this line that is now resistance, was support. And again, you guys, I think it's super likely that we come up at least on the shorter term time horizon to test this uptrend right here. So just that we've been printing since mid-October, so only for about a month now, and that would take us up to, in the short term, if we can hit this would take us up to a $5.30 Riot. Okay, so that's a shorter term uptrend, which I think is very possible. And then on the long term, which I think is ultimately possible, or like ultimately gonna happen, I think it's very likely that we see it test. This is a very conservative trend line. This one makes more sense to me, to be honest. And I think we could test, like if we hit this in Christmas, again, you guys, this would bring us on Christmas to, let's get that right there, to a 777s, you guys. Lucky Christmas. See a green lucky Christmas for Bitcoin, all these Bitcoin related stocks, especially Riot and Mara, because he's got the bags on them, okay? So 777 777s on Christmas. Or not quite Christmas, but you guys get the deal there. Let's hope we see it. I think it makes perfect sense for Riot to ultimately test this uptrend. Short term, probably this one come down a little bit and then ultimately test this longer term line of resistance on this absolute uptrend. Okay, so that's Riot, super bullish. And again, you guys, okay. So a lot of you have been reaching out talking about how Bitcoin's up. Bitcoin's higher than it was when Riot was at this level back here. Why is Riot lower? And you guys have to understand that there's a lot of variables that go into the performance of stocks. Like I said in the beginning, it makes sense that Riot would perform exactly as you expect it to, of course, because that is what you'd expect, okay? So you expect it, like the market is unpredictable, guys, and that's important to remember. If the market was completely predictable, then everyone would have money. Everyone would make money. So there are other factors at play. The primary thing that's happening right now is it's not just cryptocurrency. It's not just Bitcoin doing well and Bitcoin related stocks doing well. It's the entire freaking market. EVs are on fire right now. Cannabis is on fire. There's a lot of other shiny objects right there out there right now that are taking a lot of the shine from these projects. But that can't last forever. You could say the same thing for this, but I think ultimately, once Bitcoin really starts taking off, investors are going to become interested in these companies. And once again, I think earnings honestly will be a huge catalyst for these guys as far as new investors are concerned. And again, if Bitcoin keeps going up like I expect it will, I think Riot and Marathon Patent Group will absolutely pop off. So again, you guys, I wish I articulated that a little bit better, but it's not directly correlated. The markets are never going to be as predictable as you want them to be. Obviously, we all want them to be predictable, but there are going to be other variables at play, and sometimes unseen variables, sometimes unforeseen variables that we're unaware of. But just keep your eyes on the prize, guys, and that's all I can say. I'm still super bullish on Riot, and I'm still holding tight. So moving on, Marathon Patent Group. We'll finish off with Hive. So Marathon Patent Group is looking a little trickier from a short-term perspective, but again, you got like technicals just don't mean like as much to me. I think we're just going to see a second wave here. Like we saw the first wave. You see the first wave right here. Bubble pops. You see capitulation. I think it only makes sense that we see a second wave. And if we see it pop, like from a technical perspective, short-term, we will need to break above this line of support that once it broke. It really broke down. That was once a line of support since late September. So we will need to break above that. We'll probably see a little resistance there, but I think we can easily break above that. I'd be surprised if we didn't. Short term, I think we could easily come up to like the $4 level for Mara. and test this uptrend that we've been printing since early October. So that would make sense to me, just to do this, just to test this line of resistance on this uptrend in the short term, probably bounce off this, and then ultimately set a new high. I think it's very likely. Mara, with their market cap right now under $80 million, half the size of a Riot, and they're making a very similar amount of progress fundamentally. As to Riot, like they're accumulating more miners, and it will be very interesting to see their earnings. I'm super eager to see what happens there. But again, you guys, it would surprise me, to be honest, if we get to like a 17, especially $20,000 Bitcoin by Christmas. Like once we reach those previous highs in Bitcoin, like those previous all-time highs in Bitcoin, I could see Mara and Riot. Like it might. That's the thing, you guys. It's kind of like with mining. It's very similar, actually, how mining companies act, like gold and silver miners act compared to physical gold and silver ETFs. You'd think they'd be directly correlated, but they're not. And sometimes they lag a little bit. Sometimes at gold, silver, they can perform really well. And then the miners lag for a little bit. People get a little scared because they see them not performing as they expect. But then all of a sudden, they just start taking off, and they're off to the races. And that's why I just want to encourage strong hands, you guys, if you've been holding, if you're still confident fundamentally in these stocks. Obviously not telling you what to do, but you lose when you sell, especially when you got a gem like Riot or Mara, in my opinion. And just hold tight, because things can happen super fast, and you can easily miss the boat if you're not prepared. Okay, so just be ready. So Mara, you guys, I think, man, the short term is just so like I explained to you guys the short term. Again, it has to break above this line of support around $2.80. I think that can happen. After that, I do think it's we will very likely come up to test this shorter term trend, which would take us up. Say we hit it November 10th, November 12th, just for the example, $4.25, probably bounce down a little bit. And then if Bitcoin continues to rally, we'll probably see Mara off to the races, just like Bitcoin. Okay, so that's Mara, still super fundamentally bullish. Finish it off with Hive. Hive is back in this ascending channel. Hive looks very healthy. I wish I could trade options on Hive, and it was not an OTC stock, but it is. But I still like it, and I still hold some for full transparency. So Hive is looking strong. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Again, if Bitcoin continues to rally, Hive could easily come to the top of this ascending channel that it has used as a line of resistance. So this is like this is a very clean chart. And I really like charts like this. And I think this is again, keep in mind, you guys, this could crash tomorrow. I don't know. This looks like a safe play. This is like the safest chart of all the charts that we've looked at today, just because this is like, look how predictable this is. Again, higher highs, higher lows, and it makes sense that it would come up to test this line of resistance on this ascending channel. That would bring us to a 70-cent Hive. And I mean, considering Hive is at 53 cents right now, that's some solid gains right there. And I think that's very, very likely. Okay, so we'll call it there, you guys. Let me know what stocks you're excited about right now. Let me know just if you're, again, I'm not telling you guys what to do, but let me know if you guys are eating good, if you guys have been eating good this week. Because again, I always love, that's the funnest part of trading, and especially what I do here on YouTube is sharing the experience with you guys. And again, being here for the good times. The good times are awesome. The bad times suck, but at least we got each other, and that makes it way more fun. That makes trading way more enjoyable. Okay. So whatever you guys want to talk about, throw it down below. I'll talk to you downstairs. And until next time, you guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.